My brother slept with every girl I loved, so I hired the woman who destroyed his life to be my girlfriend. I didn't just hear them, I felt it. The vibration of the bass from the party downstairs was rattling the floorboards, but it wasn't loud enough to drown out the sounds coming from the guest bedroom. My bedroom. I stood in the hallway, clutching a velvet box that felt like it was burning a hole in my palm. Inside was a 3-carat diamond ring. I'd spent 6 months saving for it. I was going to propose to Sarah tonight, in front of everyone. Instead, I was listening to my older brother, Paul, groan my girlfriend's name behind a locked door. Most people would kick the door down. Most people would scream, throw a punch, cause a scene. I didn't. I walked into the bathroom, turned on the cold water tap, and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked calm, terrifyingly calm, because this wasn't the first time. It wasn't the second. This was the 5th time Paul had taken something of mine, just to prove he could. He didn't love Sarah. He didn't even like her. Last week he told me she had annoying ankles. But Paul has a sickness. He doesn't want women. He wants my women. He wants to know that he can snap his fingers and take the one thing I care about. He gets off on the power, on the humiliation, on the fact that I'm the good little brother who always forgives him because family comes first. I looked at my reflection-tired eyes, jaw tight enough to snap, and realized something. I wasn't sad. I was done. I put the ring box in my pocket. I walked downstairs, grabbed a bottle of scotch from my father's liquor cabinet, and walked out the front door. I didn't cry. I sat in my car and made a plan. I needed a weapon, not a bat, not a gun. I needed something that would hurt Paul in the only place he actually had feelings, his ego and his bank account. I needed Mia. Paul is rich, crypto rich, arrogant, I can buy anything rich. But 2 years ago, he got divorced. It was a bloodbath. His ex-wife, a sweet girl named Qley, walked away with half his fortune, the beach house, and his dog. Paul was destroyed. He cried for months. Not about Qley, but about the money. He swore he'd ruin the lawyer who did it to him. He never met her face to face. He was too cowardly to show up to mediation, sending his junior associates instead, but he hated the name on the paperwork. M.V. Sterling. I Googled her right there in the car. Mia Sterling, high-stakes divorce attorney, the husband hunter. Her photo on the firm's website stopped me cold. She wasn't just a lawyer. She was a predator in a Prada suit. Sharp dark eyes, hair like spilled ink, and a smile that said, she knew exactly where you hid the assets. She was terrifying. She was perfect. I called her office the next morning. I don't do consultations for under $500 an hour, she said, 10 seconds after walking into the glass-walled conference room. She didn't even look at me. She was typing on her phone. I don't want a divorce, I said, leaning back in the leather chair. I want to hire you to be my girlfriend. That got her attention. She looked up, phone freezing in midair. Her eyes narrowed, scanning me like I was a contract with fine print. Excuse me? My name is Dave Miller. My brother is Paul Miller. Recognition flashed in her eyes. It was cold and immediate. The crypto bro who tried to hide $3 million in offshore accounts during discovery? I remember him. He's arrogant, sloppy, and owes me a thank you card for not getting him indicted for fraud. He hates you, I said. He talks about you like you're the devil. I'm flattered. She sat down, crossing her legs. So, what's the pitch, Dave? You want to bring the devil to dinner? He sleeps with my girlfriends, I said. I kept my voice flat. Every single one. He waits until I'm happy, then he swoops in, charms them, sleeps with them, and dumps them a week later. It's a game to him. I want to win the game. And where do I fit in? I introduce you as my new girlfriend. We go to the family 4th of July party next month. Paul won't recognize you. He never showed up to the hearings, remember? He only knows the name on the papers. You're smart, you're gorgeous, and you're exactly the kind of challenge he can't resist. He'll try to take you from me. Mia tapped a perfectly manicured nail on the mahogany table. And when he tries, we catch him, we record it, we expose him to the family, but more importantly, you reject him, you humiliate him, you let him think he's winning, and then you crush him. She stared at me for a long time, the silence stretched, heavy and expensive. Then, the corner of her mouth ticked up. It was a cruel smile. I liked it. My hourly rate for litigation is $600, she said. For acting, it's $1,000, plus expenses. Deal. We spent the next 3 weeks training. It was strictly business, but it felt intense. Mia was thorough. She needed to know everything about Paul, his triggers, his pickup lines, his insecurities. We met for coffee, then drinks, then dinner. He's a mirror, I told her one night at a sushi place downtown. He reflects what you want to see. If you're artistic, he suddenly loves galleries. If you're into fitness, he's training for a triathlon. Basic narcissism, Mia said, dipping sashimi into soy sauce. Boring, I'll eat him alive. Don't underestimate him. He's charming. He makes you feel like the only person in the room. Mia looked at me then. Her eyes softened, just a fraction. Is that what he did to Sarah? I flinched. Yeah, and Jen. And Lisa. Why do you keep inviting him around? Because my parents think the sun shines out of his ass, I said bitterly. They think it's just bad luck with my relationships. They don't know he hunts them. If I accuse him without proof, I look like the jealous little brother. Mia reached across the table and touched my hand. Her skin was cool. We're going to get the proof, Dave, and then I'm going to make him cry. For a second, looking at her, I forgot this was a transaction. My heart did a weird stutter step. I pulled my hand away, reminding myself, she's a shark. You're just the chum. The 4th of July party was at my parents' estate in the Hamptons. It was the kind of event where everyone wore white linen and pretended not to hate each other. We pulled up in Mia's car, a vintage Porsche that cost more than my college education. That was part of the plan. Paul is obsessed with status. If I showed up in my Toyota, he'd laugh. If I showed up in the passenger seat of a Porsche driven by a woman who looked like a supermodel, he'd be intrigued. Ready? Mia asked, checking her lipstick in the rearview mirror. She was wearing a red dress that was illegal in 3 states. It was backless, dangerous, and screamed money. Showtime, I said. We walked into the backyard, hand in hand. My mother was the first to spot us. Davy, she squealed, rushing over with a martini in hand. And who is this? Mom, this is Mia, I said, putting a protective arm around her waist. We've been seeing each other for a while. Mia turned on the charm. It was terrifying to watch. She wasn't the cold shark from the office anymore. She was warm, engaging, laughing at my mom's terrible jokes. But she kept an edge of aloofness, a subtle signal that she was better than this place. Then Paul walked out onto the patio. He was wearing expensive sunglasses and a shirt unbuttoned one too many. He looked good. He always did. He spotted us, and I felt the shift in the air. He didn't look at me. He looked at Mia. He stopped walking. He took off his sunglasses. Well, Paul said, sauntering over, Dave finally brought home someone interesting. Paul, I said, keeping my voice steady. This is Mia. Paul extended a hand. He held it just a little too long, squeezing just a little too hard. Pleasure. I'm the better-looking brother. Mia didn't giggle. She didn't blush. She looked him up and down, unimpressed. Debatable, she said coolly, then turned back to me. Babe, get me a drink. I saw Paul's jaw tighten, hook set. For the next 4 hours, it was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Paul was relentless. He hovered. He interrupted. He tried to mog me, bringing up his investments, his cars, his trips to Dubai. I just bought a new boat, Paul said loudly over dinner, staring right at Mia. A 60-footer, thinking of taking it to the Mediterranean next month. You like sailing, Mia? Mia poked at her salad. I get seasick on anything smaller than 100 feet, she said casually. Dave, pass the salt. My dad choked on his wine. Paul looked like he'd been slapped. Later, I found them by the pool. Paul had cornered her. He was doing the lean, one arm on the wall, boxing her in, invading her space. You're too much woman for him, I heard Paul say. His voice had dropped to that low, intimate register he used on Sarah. Dave is a safe guy. He's sweet, but he's boring. You look like you need excitement. And your excitement? Mia asked, swirling her drink. I'm danger, Paul smirked. I'm the guy who takes what he wants. Is that right? Mia took a sip. Prove it. My stomach dropped. That wasn't in the script. Prove it was dangerous. Was she improvising? Or was Paul's charm actually working? He was charming. That was the problem. Paul leaned in closer. Meet me in the guest house. 10 minutes. I'll show you things Dave hasn't even read about. Mia smiled. It was the shark smile. 10 minutes. She walked away, hips swaying. Paul watched her go, looking like a wolf who just spotted a wounded deer. He looked at me across the pool deck and winked. I felt sick. I met Mia in the kitchen a minute later. What the hell are you doing? I hissed. The guest house? Relax, she whispered, grabbing a bottle of champagne. I need him isolated. I need him to say it explicitly. Are the cameras set up? Yeah, I put the GoPros in the plant and the bookshelf. Good. Give me 5 minutes, then come in. Mia, he's aggressive? She looked at me, and for the first time, she looked fierce. Dave, I eat men like him for breakfast. He's not a wolf. He's a golden retriever with a credit card limit. Trust me. I waited 5 minutes. They were the longest 5 minutes of my life. I imagined everything. I imagined her falling for him. I imagined him hurting her. Then I walked to the guest house. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. Paul was on the couch, shirt half open. Mia was standing across the room, holding her phone. "Come on, baby," Paul was saying. "Put the phone away. Dave never has to know. He's used to it. I share everything with him. Or rather, he shares with me." "Does he?" Mia asked. "Does he know you slept with Sarah in his bed? While he was buying a ring?" Paul laughed. A cruel, ugly sound. "Sarah was easy. She was begging for it. Dave's girls always are. They smell the alpha and they come running. He's a placeholder. He keeps the seat warm until I'm ready to sit down." I stepped into the room. "Is that what I am, Paul? A seat warmer?" Paul jumped. He scrambled up from the couch, buttoning his shirt. "Dave, hey, nothing happened. Mia was just asking for a tour." "Cut the crap," I said. I felt a surge of adrenaline. "I heard you. Dave's girls are always easy. I take what I want." Paul's panic faded instantly. He settled back into his arrogance. He looked at me with pity. "Look, Davey, don't be dramatic. You know how it is. If she wanted me, that's on her. You can't blame me for having better genes." He turned to Mia, flashing a grin. "Tell him, Mia. Tell him who you'd rather be with." Mia looked at Paul. She stepped forward. The air in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "You think I'm interested in you?" she asked. Her voice was soft, deadly. "I think the chemistry is undeniable," Paul smirked. "Paul," she said, "do you know why I look familiar?" Paul frowned. "You have one of those faces. Maybe a magazine?" "My name is Mia Sterling." Paul froze. It was like watching a machine malfunction. His eyes went wide, then squinted, then widened again. "Sterling? Like M.V. Sterling? The very same." You're the bitch who took my house," Paul whispered. The color drained from his face. "You're the one who got Julie full custody of the dog." "I am," Mia said pleasantly. "And I have to say, Paul, your dossier didn't do you justice. You're even more pathetic in person." "This is a setup," Paul snarled. He looked at me, eyes wild. "You hired her? You hired my ex-wife's lawyer to trap me?" "I didn't hire her to trap you," I said, stepping next to Mia. "I hired her to show Mom and Dad who you really are. See that plant? And that bookshelf? You're on camera, Paul. High definition." Paul lunged for the plant. Mia stepped in his way. She didn't flinch. "Touch me," she said, "and I'll have you arrested for assault before you can say insolvency. And considering I know exactly how much you're underreporting to the IRS this quarter, I'd suggest you sit down." Paul sat. He collapsed, really. The alpha male deflated into a scared little boy. "We're going to show this video to Mom and Dad," I said. "We're going to show them exactly what you think of me and exactly what you do to my relationships. And if you ever touch another person I care about," Mia releases the tax files she found during the divorce discovery that she forgot to submit. "That's privileged information?" Paul squeaked. "Oops," Mia shrugged. "I'm clumsy." We left him there, shivering on the couch. Walking back to the main house, I felt lighter than I had in 10 years. My chest was buzzing. I looked at Mia. She was flushed, her eyes bright. "That," she said, exhaling a long breath, "was incredibly satisfying." You were terrifying," I said. "Thank you." "He's a grandiose narcissist with mommy issues. It was too easy." She stopped walking. We were under the trellis, hidden from the party. "So, transaction complete?" "I guess so," I said. I felt a sudden, sharp pang of disappointment. "I'll write the check tomorrow." "Right." She looked at her shoes. Then she looked up at me. "You know, he was wrong about one thing." "What's that?" "You're not boring, Dave. You just have terrible taste in family." She stepped closer. The smell of her perfume jasmine and something sharp, like gunpowder, filled my head. "And," she added, her voice dropping, "you held your own in there. It was kinda hot." I didn't think. I just leaned in. I kissed the shark, and she kissed back, hard. The fallout was nuclear. We played the video for my parents that night. My mom cried. My dad turned purple. Paul tried to deny it, claiming it was a deep fake. He really loves his tech buzzwords. But Mia shut him down with a 3-minute speech that laid out his entire history of sociopathic behavior. Paul was cut off. Not entirely. My parents are too soft for that. But the golden child status was revoked. He wasn't allowed at family gatherings if I was there. He lost his funding for his new startup. He shrank. But the real story isn't Paul. The real story is that 3 days later, I went to Mia's office to pay her. She was sitting behind her massive glass desk, wearing glasses, looking intimidating again. I slid the check across the desk. $15,000, I said. "As agreed." She looked at the check. She picked it up, studied it, and then ripped it in half. "Mia, I can't take money from a boyfriend," she said, not looking up from her paperwork. "It's a conflict of interest." My heart hammered against my ribs. A boyfriend? I thought the contract was over. She finally looked up. She took off her glasses. "Dave, I had fun. I haven't had fun in years. I spend my life dealing with men like Paul liars, cheats, scumbags. It was refreshing to help one of the good guys win." "So, what does this mean?" "It means," she said, standing up and walking around the desk, "that you owe me dinner, a real dinner. No cameras, no brothers, no revenge plots. Just us." "I can do that," I said. "Pick you up at 8? 7. I don't like to wait." That was 6 months ago. Dating Mia is intense. She argues like it's a sport. She critiques my wardrobe. She's terrifyingly smart and doesn't let me get away with anything. But she's also loyal, fiercely, violently loyal. Last week, we ran into Sarah, my ex, at a coffee shop. Sarah tried to make small talk, tried to pull the "I miss you" card. Mia didn't say a word. She just put her hand on my chest, looked Sarah dead in the eye, and smiled. It was the shark smile. Sarah turned pale and literally ran out of the shop. "You didn't have to do that," I laughed, kissing the top of Mia's head. "Yes, I did," she said, grabbing my coffee. "Nobody touches my stuff." I used to hate that phrase. When Paul said it, it meant I was property. But when Mia says it, it means I'm safe. My brother stole every girl I ever loved until I introduced him to the woman who haunts his nightmares. It was a chaotic, expensive, insane way to find a relationship. But looking at Mia now, arguing with a waiter about the wine list while holding my hand under the table, I realized something. Paul took the girls who were easy. He took the ones who could be swayed by a shiny watch and a fast car. He cleared the path for the one woman he could never, ever touch. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. If you enjoyed this story of revenge and unlikely romance, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more daily stories.